Modern stress is killing us. We spend $200 a month on therapy and calming supplements, yet we are more anxious than ever. But look at this. A 94-year-old survivor of the London Blitz never had a panic attack in her life. Her secret? She ate item number 4 on this list every single day of the war. It costs 5 cents, it stabilizes your cortisol, and it rebuilds your nerves from the inside out. Today, as a doctor, I'm revealing the 7 forgotten staples of resilience that the industry wants you to forget. Let's look at the pot. Staple 1. The miner's salt, the adrenal protector. In the deep shafts of the Appalachian coal mines in the 1920s, the heat was suffocating and the work was brutal. Miners didn't have electrolyte drinks or energy gels. They had a pocket full of unrefined rock salt. They would add a pinch of this salt to their water and their morning porridge. As a doctor, I see patients every day suffering from adrenal fatigue. They are exhausted but can't sleep. Their bodies are stuck in a fight-or-flight loop. What they don't realize is that stress causes the body to dump sodium and magnesium at an alarming rate. When your salt levels drop, your cortisol, the stress hormone, skyrockets to compensate. The miners understood this instinctively. By using unrefined sea salt, they were providing their adrenal glands with the trace minerals needed to maintain blood pressure and nerve conduction under extreme physical stress. This 3-cent habit is the difference between a nervous breakdown and a body of steel. We've been told that salt is the enemy, but for a nervous system under fire, it is the primary fuel for survival. It is the adrenal guard that allowed a generation to work 12 hours a day and still come home with a calm mind. Staple 2. The lumberjack's fat. The neurological insulator. In the logging camps of the Great Lakes during the 1930s, men faced sub-zero temperatures and the constant danger of their trade. Their diet was built around a specific type of fat: lard and heavy cream. Today, we are told these fats are clogging our arteries, but for the lumberjack, this was nerve insulation. The human brain and nervous system are 60% fat. Every nerve in your body is wrapped in a protective coating called the myelin sheath. This sheath is made of lipids. When we switched to a low-fat diet in the 1980s, we saw an explosion in neurological disorders and anxiety. The survivors of the hardship era didn't fear fat. They sought it out. By consuming stable, saturated fats, they were providing the raw materials for myelin repair. This is why a 90-year-old farmer often has faster reflexes and a steadier hand than a 40-year-old office worker. They weren't lucky, they were biologically insulated. This hardship staple is the reason they could face the threat of poverty and war without their nervous systems short-circuiting. It's a lesson in neurological density that the modern food industry has traded for inflammatory seed oils. During the Great Depression, when meat was a memory, oatmeal was the anchor. But it wasn't the instant, sugary packets we see today. It was steel-cut, or rolled oats, simmered for an hour until they became a thick, gelatinous mash. As a doctor, I analyze this bowl and I see a tryptophan delivery system. Tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin, the chemical responsible for mood stability and inner peace. But tryptophan needs a slow-releasing carbohydrate to cross the blood-brain barrier. The complex fiber in traditional oats provides exactly that. One widow I interviewed in Missouri lived through the 1930s with 4 children and no income. She told me, "The oatmeal kept us quiet." Biologically, she was right. It kept their blood sugar perfectly flat, preventing the glucose crashes that trigger anxiety and irritability. This 10-cent bowl is more effective at stabilizing mood than most modern mood-boosting supplements. It is the serotonin anchor that allowed a generation to face absolute scarcity with a quiet, resilient dignity. They weren't depressed despite the depression. They were neurologically grounded by the very starch they were forced to eat. In 1941, during the London Blitz, a specific meal became a staple for those hiding in the underground shelters: lentil and carrot stew. It was easy to store, impossible to ruin, and cost next to nothing. But here is the doctor's insight. Lentils are one of the highest sources of prebiotic fiber, specifically resistant starch. This fiber feeds the bifidobacteria in your gut. Why does that matter for your nerves? Because 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut, and it communicates directly with your brain via the vagus nerve. The people eating this stew were inadvertently hacking their vagus nerve. By feeding their gut bacteria, they were sending safety signals to their brain, even while bombs were falling above them. This is the survival protocol for the modern age. We are stressed because our gut is sterile from processed foods. By returning to the humble lentil, we rebuild the gut-brain axis. One survivor told me she ate this stew 3 times a week for 6 years. She is 96 today, and her cognitive clarity is sharper than most people half her age. She wasn't just surviving, she was reinforcing her neurological foundation. Staple 5, the field workers, vinegar tonic, the dopamine reset. In the scorching fields of the Mediterranean and the American South, workers used a specific drink to stay sane in the heat. Water mixed with raw vinegar and a bit of molasses. They called it switchel. To a doctor, this is a dopamine reset. Stress and high-sugar diets cause insulin resistance in the brain. When your brain can't process glucose correctly, your dopamine receptors become sluggish. You feel unmotivated, foggy, and anxious. The acetic acid in the vinegar flattens the blood sugar spike of any meal, ensuring that the brain receives a steady stream of fuel rather than a chaotic surge. This allowed field workers to maintain focus and grit for 14 hours a day. They didn't have focus drinks filled with synthetic caffeine. They had vinegar. This 5-cent tonic is a biological clutch that allows the nervous system to switch gears without burning out. It is the secret to the indefatigable spirit of the working class, a spirit that is disappearing in our world of energy crashes and constant stimulation. Staple 6, the black-eyed magnesium pot, the sleep sentinel. Sleep is the primary repair mechanism for the nervous system. During the periods of hardship in the southern states, the black-eyed pea was the ultimate sleep sentinel. These peas are among the most magnesium-dense foods on the planet. Magnesium is the relaxing mineral. It blocks the NMDA receptors in the brain, preventing excitotoxicity, the process where your nerves become overexcited and eventually die. I see patients spending hundreds on magnesium sprays and expensive sleep trackers. Our ancestors simply ate a bowl of peas with a piece of cornbread. The magnesium relaxed their muscles and calmed their racing hearts, while the complex carbs ensured they didn't wake up in the middle of the night from a cortisol spike. A man I interviewed who lived to be 101 said his only rule was a bowl of peas for a quiet mind. He was a master of neurological repair, using a 20-cent legume to ensure his brain recovered every single night for a century. Finally, we have the most controversial staple of all, organ meats. In the hardship era, nothing was wasted. Liver, heart, and kidney were the superfoods of the poor. As a doctor, I look at liver and I see a B vitamin fortress. Vitamin B12 and B6 are essential for the production of neurotransmitters and the repair of nerve fibers. A single serving of beef liver contains more B12 than a whole month's worth of synthetic supplements. The people who lived through the 1930s and 40s didn't have brain fog because they were consuming the most nutrient-dense neurological fuel on Earth. They were loading their nervous systems with the raw materials needed for resilience. We have traded these scraps for clean muscle meat, and in doing so, we have starved our nerves of the very vitamins that prevent dementia and depression. This is the final lesson of survival. The strength of the mind is found in the parts of the animal we were told to throw away. The $150 billion supplement industry doesn't want you to look at your pantry for resilience. There is no profit margin in a bag of lentils, a jar of vinegar, or a pinch of sea salt. They want you to believe that your burnout is a mystery that only a $50 bottle of pills can solve. But the 94-year-old survivor and the 101-year-old worker tell a different story. They prove that the human nervous system is not fragile. It is a biological engine that requires specific, cheap, and hard staples to remain resilient. They survived world wars and economic collapses not because they were lucky, but because they were neurologically anchored by the food they were forced to eat. My challenge to you is simple. This week, don't buy a supplement. Make the widow's oatmeal. Try the vinegar tonic. Cook a pot of black-eyed peas. Sit at your table, set a place for yourself, and eat it slowly. Feel the magnesium, the serotonin, and the salt entering your blood. Feel the connection to the generations of humans who stood strong when the world was falling apart. Your mental health is not a product. It is a heritage. These hardship staples are the forgotten protocol of the strongest minds in history. If this video spoke to the truth you've been looking for, subscribe to the channel. We are tired of the sick care system, and we are getting back to the roots. Share in the comments, which survival staple did your family use to keep their spirits up? Because at Vaxalis, we believe the best nervous system is the one you build in the kitchen. And I'll see you at the next pot. Thanks for watching.